Welcome, everyone, to this edition of the Church Answers podcast. My name is Thom. We take bite-sized nuggets and try to make them edible and delicious for your information for the church. I've never said that before. I don't know why I said that, but anyway, it's really corny. You get to be my age, everything is corny. Nothing is cool. Nothing is relevant, but I hope I have some relevant information for you. We're going to talk about a question that I'm going to say I get at least once a week, maybe more frequently. I just did not want to overstate it. And it is, how can I get younger people in my church? Sometimes I ask, how do I make my church younger? Well, there's no silver bullet solution, but we're going to be talking about two ways you can make your church younger. And we'll be talking about that on this brief episode of the Church Answers podcast, always sponsored by Belay. You know our good friends at Belay. They're all about productivity. They grow the impact and reach of your church or your organization because they do the things that you don't need to do. You can get drowned in so many things that just frustrate you and cause you to lose energy, or you can do the things you want to do. And Belay provides the type of personnel that can do those things for you. Our friends at Belay are productivity experts. We've been doing business with them for a long time. And they've been having remote staff solutions since 2010, which is about the time we started with them. Jumpstart your productivity at Belay. Church Answers listeners, viewers get a free download of the newest book they're offering, The Power of Productivity. The Power of Productivity. So if you want that free download of an ebook, text Thom at 55123. That's Thom, Thom, at 55123 to get this free download. How do you get your church younger? People intuitively know that a younger church is probably going to be a more vibrant church. We logically know that a younger church means that we have a future, whereas a church that is just filled with older people like me, and by the way, I'm one of the 5 oldest people in my church. It is a very young church. And so if we had all people like me, there might be a bit of discouragement. But we know something. We know that the median age of church attendees is going up. It's going up significantly. And this is an amazing fact. It won't be that long if you consider, say, 60 years old, a senior adult. Some of you may object to that, but if you consider 60 years old, it won't be that long for the majority of our church attendees are senior adults. There's nothing wrong with us senior adults. We're still kicking. Most of us are. We still can make a difference. But if your church is dominated and has a preponderance of senior adults, it means your future is suspect, because what's the next step for those of us old people? We step into eternity and we're no longer in the church physically. Now, we're in the universal church, but we're not in the local church physically. So for many reasons, not just psychological, emotional reasons, but for spiritual reasons as well, we want our churches to reach young people, in addition to all other groups that are represented in our demography. So what do you do? What do you do? Well, I'm going to suggest two things. First thing is begin a single mom's ministry. You say, I don't know if we have any single moms in our church. I want to challenge you. Order that Know Your Community report from Church Answers, very inexpensive for a 35-page report, and find out who is in your community and what they're thinking and what they want. That's called demographics and then psychographics. Get that Know Your Community report, and you will be amazed. Every time I have had a pastor or church leader look at their Know Your Community report and they see the number of single moms in the church, they are absolutely amazed. And what happens when you get single moms? Well, most of the time, they have young kids. And so a single mom with kids at home will make your church younger. Now, don't leave out single dads. That's an increasing number. There could be as many as 20 to 30% of the single parents led by dads. So that would include that as well. But if you start ministering specifically to these single parents with young children at home, you will see your church start getting younger. That means you're going to have to make an effort. That means you're going to have to try to reach them. You're going to have to find them. but you can do it. I'm going to make an audacious statement. I have never heard of a church that wanted to reach single moms that didn't reach single moms. Let me say that again. I have never heard of a church that wanted to reach single moms that didn't reach single moms. They are ready. They are willing. They're desirous to connect with you. And if you have just senior adults, they can become the moms and the grandmoms to these single women, and in some cases, single men. So one key way to make your church younger is simply to make certain you have a ministry to reach single parents, mostly women, but including men as well. Secondly, get your senior adults in your church involved with ministries to children. Now you say, well, wait a minute, we don't have a ministry to children. So what do we do? Well, you don't have to have a ministry to children in your church, but there's many needs in the school systems for tutors, for after school care. The list can go on and on. As your senior adults begin to connect with young people in the school systems, they will most likely get to know many of the parents of these children, and it will open the door for all kinds of possibilities to bring these young people into the church. Now, that's just two ways. And just to be sure, just to be certain you're hearing this, I want you to hear that this is not a silver bullet. Neither one of these are. And there are other ways to get younger, obviously. But what is not working? What is not working is churches that say we're going to get a younger pastor, and that younger pastor will attract younger adults. You know what that is? That's delegated, unbiblical delegation of ministry. It's delegation up instead of delegation out. I've never seen it to work. It is so incredibly rare that you just go and get that young pastor, and that is going to be the silver bullet. I shouldn't say I've never seen it work. I've rarely seen it work. I want to correct myself on that. Now, here's another thing I just want to remind you of. I'm going to be mentioning this a lot in some of my podcasts. Cover all of this with prayer for your pastor. Did you hear what I just said? Cover all of this with prayer for the pastor. In fact, I'm going to say it several times in the next few podcasts, and I hope it'll sink in. I wrote a book called When the People Pray, and it's 30-day guide to get your church members praying for you. If you're a pastor, get this book and be bold. Say, I need you praying for me. And maybe you can get several people going through that. They go for 30 days praying the pastor. And as you do that, ministry such as to single moms, ministry to children in the school systems, all of those are going to be enhanced because you're putting a prayer shield around your pastor. So here's my recommendation. Recommendation number 1, begin to reach children in your area by having your senior adults or your adults participate in after school care, tutoring, those things where the children need help. Secondly, start a single parents ministry. Usually it's a single moms, but you can do single parent fathers as well. And as you begin to do that, you will begin to see that many times these people will be reached with the gospel of Christ, and thus your church will be younger. Absolutely incredible. 2 ways to make your church younger. It is not a silver bullet. It just requires a little bit of effort, but it can be done if you really want to see your church become a church for the next generation. As always, I am so appreciative of you being a part of the Church Answers podcast as we go through these bite-sized nuggets. And remember, every week we drop 3 of these at one time. We try to keep the entirety of the podcast right at 10 minutes. And if you speed up my southern drawl a little bit, you can even get it done quicker than 10 minutes. But this information, I think, can be very helpful to make your church younger. Don't forget to look at that book as well. We'll put that in the show notes, When the People Pray, so you can get your people praying for you. All right. Thank you, as always, for being a part of this podcast. If you're watching it on YouTube or you're listening to it on your favorite podcasting app, or maybe you're listening to it at Church Answers, we have, I think over 20% of our audience, it just goes to Church Answers. Give us a rating, a review, a like, subscribe, etc. We greatly appreciate that so we can get the word out. And as always, we thank Belay. Remember, get that download from them, The Power of Productivity. Go to Thom at 55123. That's Thom, Thom, at 55123, and see what you can do to make your church be a better steward of its time and its people. We'll see you in the next episode. Hey, folks, this is a PS to our podcast. We got some exciting stuff that we want to offer you absolutely for free. Sam, when you think about predictive factors in a church's growth, if you take out demographics, what are some things that come to mind? Just two. I mean, don't give me a list of 10. Just two or three things that come to mind on predictive growth of a church.
Well, evangelism and whether the church is doing it or not.
Bingo.
And then I will add, is it an ongoing evangelism emphasis?
Double bingo. Well. Maybe something about leadership and their commitment to that. So all of the above.
Evangelistic churches have evangelistic pastors. Is the staff, is the lead pastor doing the work themselves?
We have a free download for you, and it's actually a sheet that you can self-score. You answer 20 questions, anywhere from strongly disagree to strongly agree. And we come back and we predict what your growth rate is going to be for the next year in worship attendance. It's not a perfect tool, but it's a good tool. There's a link to that for the attendance predictor. Look in the show notes. You'll absolutely love it. That's cool. We'll see you soon.